G'day, everybody. Welcome to the Footy Talk podcast. My name is Maroon. Wado and Woodsy. Woodsy, how are you, old mate?
I'm good, mate. We came in last week and Wado spoke about the roller coaster. I'm at the other end this week, and Wado's at the front. So, I'm probably got a little, the bad cloud over my head. Disappointing. But as we say, we just ride that roller coaster week in, week out.
Absolutely, mate. And, Wado, congratulations to you. First of all, on that win for your team, I honestly couldn't see why everyone thought that was such a shock win. You guys had so much to play for, and so many guys just with so much to prove, I guess.
Yeah, and every game's crucial at the back end of this season. We know how tight the ladder is. It was a big game for us. I really felt like, I know I said it last week on the podcast against Penrith, that we turned the corner with it sounds strange looking at a game where we got rinsed 28-0, but there were some really good parts in that game, in our defence, in our effort, that I thought that we could hold on to, and we took it into that game against South. We held them to 0 for 60-odd minutes, and then they did get momentum and have a crack at us late, but they're a good team, quality team. It's hard to keep them out of the game, and guys like Latrell for 80 minutes. So it was a really important result for us, as in just confidence boost off the back of the Penrith game. And, for it to be my 250th with the club was a special occasion. So the club did a good job for me. They got my mum and dad to come over. It was a bit too far for the kids to travel over, but it was a nice little touch. They did the video. All the coaching staff chipped in and bought me a bottle of Penfolds Grange. So that's nice. That's going up in the man cave. And just really, really happy with the result in a milestone and what it means to us in the season.
250 games for the Sharkies. What a milestone. 42, I think, for the Panthers before you got there. So I guess we've never had the opportunity to ask you before, Wado, what was behind the move from Penrith to the Sharkies all those years ago?
Well, how it happened was, we had a really good junior base, a good junior team there. At one stage when I was coming through with Penrith, and we all debuted around the same time. So it was me, Lockie Coote, Michael Jennings, Timmy Grant, Sam McKendry. There was a whole list of names. And basically, we played 1 or 2 seasons together at first grade, but we were all on our junior contracts. So when we all came off contract, we just couldn't fit all those pieces in now who were junior players and were first graders. So there was a squeeze on the salary cap, and they had to choose some players to stay and some players to let go, and it just didn't work out. I was one of the players when the other offers came in. I had 2 substantial offers come in from the Cowboys and Cronulla, and ultimately Penrith couldn't fit me in, so they wished me luck in my career, and I was almost headed to the Cowboys.
Wow.
To be honest.
Really?
Because JT was there. Yep. I was still playing in the halves, so the idea and the thought of going up there and playing outside JT was such a big draw card. I just, I spoke to Gow. Gow was a big factor of me going to Cronulla. He was the captain of New South Wales and vice captain of Australia, and he was so keen to get me to Cronulla. And I was still living at home with my mum and dad. And I was only 18, so I just thought the move to North Queensland, out of my comfort zone and a change in football, plus living away from home for the first time might have been too big of a jump when I was trying to really solidify my my career. And I just had a feeling to go to Cronulla, and it's, 13, 14 years later.
That's something I always wanted to ask. How big of was Gow in, those discussions? Because you hear a lot of the time, Flano got him out to go to meetings with players just to, that was his big pull.
Yeah, well, he was for sure, he was instrumental in getting me. Yep. He was probably the final deciding factor for me to go to the club, because my initial meeting with Moons and Flano went great. They obviously had a plan and a vision for me, and Flano was unreal from the get-go. You've dealt with him before, how he talks, and he shared his vision and belief in the club, and I was really on the fence. And then, until Gow called me. I remember I finished training once at Penrith, and I was driving home. I had a missed call from a number. I didn't know who it was, and the voicemail came through. And I was like, it's Paul. Hey, Wade, it's Paul Gallen here. Can you give me a call back when you can? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, there's no way Paul Gallen's ringing me. I thought it was a stitch-up, because I was obviously with Luke Lewis at Penrith as well, who's known to be a practical joker. Right? And there'd already been chat, in the media that I'd met with Cronulla and I'd met with the Cowboys and whatnot. So I thought it was a stitch up, but then I got around to it. I spoke to my manager. It really was Gow's number. So then I gave him a call back, and he basically just, told me how much he thought of me as a young player.
Yep.
How he thought I would benefit the Sharks, and how much belief he had in the club and in Flano and where they were going, and and ultimately that he wanted me there.
Yeah, yep. That's a big thing.
That was the biggest thing, because Gow was, like I said, he was the captain of the club. He was, he was the captain of New South Wales.
He's a polarising figure.
He was.
Yeah.
But he always had my respect because of how he went on the field, like how hard he went on the field. That's the competitor he was as a player. Like, you never wanted to come against him. And this was like primetime Gow too, when he was angry all the time and just competing on the field, and, the way how tenacious he was with his defence. And he was captain of New South Wales. So
that's huge.
Ultimately, the vote of confidence from the captain of the state, the captain of your future club, saying he wanted me there in that team, it made me decide to go to Cronulla.
And that's a smart, that's in the fair dinkum department, Wado, maturity beyond your years to say, hey, I'm a young bloke. I got to move to another club. I don't want to go 3,000 Ks away. I'll just go down the road. My parents are still out here in the West, and it'll be a little bit more seamless.
Yeah, well, I travelled for the first year. So I still lived at home with mum and dad while I was looking. So I just bought a house in Penrith. So I couldn't afford another house at that time, or I had to sell the house. I didn't want to sell it straight away. So I travelled for the first year, and it wasn't too bad. Like, pre-season was difficult because it's early mornings. You're there all day. You're in the car and the traffic on the way home, and then you pretty much get home, eat, sleep, repeat, and it got a bit monotonous. But when the season came around, you get your days off, your half days. The transition was quite easy, and it allowed me time to get out there, understand the area a bit more. It's time to look into buying a house in Cronulla, and to really settle and feel what it was like, because I was out of my depth for starters. I was a young kid, and all I'd known was the West and Penrith, and that's all I was still probably heartbroken from having to leave Penrith, to be honest. When I was sitting down as a kid dreaming of footy, all I dreamed of was wearing a Penrith jersey for my whole career. And I was inspired by that 2003 grand final. I sat on the hill there almost every home game as a Penrith fan. So, there was no doubt I was still brokenhearted for a long time when I left Penrith. But yeah, eventually, I bought the house that I now still live in 2012. I moved in Cronulla. It's now my family home, and I might be a Westie at heart, but certainly my family is going to be Cronulla through and through.
Okay, and I think now we've seen in the last couple of years, mate, a real stable Cronulla. I don't know if I'd say one of the superpowers, I don't know, but certainly a destination for a great rugby league player. And now you got Fitzy there as a coach. So you've been part of what it is today. When you look back on that 2016 grand final, all those things about leaving the lights on for Harold Holt, and how do you look back on that grand final?
Oh, it's just, it just brought a smile to my face straight away, just thinking of that year and, the playing group we had. There was no, it's funny. Cronulla's it's in such a good spot now. It's in a better spot than it's ever been with the development. It's going to be finished next year. When you go down there in the future, it's just going to be just an awesome place to play at. But it wasn't like that for me when I first got there. It was a grind. It was a real footy club. Everyone chipped in, but it didn't matter what your role was. Like, you could be the trainer, then all of a sudden you were helping out with the flag team or the SG ball team, or you were cooking Flano cooked the barbecues sometimes after training. It was just
Didn't he build the gym as well?
He put a boxing ring in the gym. Like, everyone just chipped in and did what they had to do. And still to this day, there is that feel about it, whether you're in the marketing team or the sponsorship team, commercial team, you do whatever you need to do to make it work. But 2016 was sort of the battlers, we finally got a team together from probably 2015 to 2016 that we knew we had a shake, and 2016 was just special. We started the year, a bit rough. I think we lost our first two, and then we went on that streak of 15 straight, and it's just some of the best memories of my life, really. Footy was, it's hard, the NRL, and I'm not saying those games weren't hard, but because we were winning and we were going so well, it just felt like an easy time, and things were happening for us. And about halfway, I think, because we went really well in 2015 too and got bundled out by the Cowboys, who go on and win it.
Yeah.
in 2015. And then about halfway through 2016, when in the middle of that streak, you could just feel, there was a sense about it that we had a team that, could go deep into the year and have some success. And then the longer that year went, you could sense it in the community. That's where I really started to know. The community started to go, hang on a minute, this could be the one, this could be the chance. Cronulla Sharks hadn't won a premiership then, and you could just feel it when you were going in the cafes or restaurants around the building towards that grand final. And I know we went down to Melbourne, the last round of the competition. People thought we fell out of form, late in that year because we dropped a couple on the way home. I think we lost to Canberra at Shark Park, and we lost to Melbourne in the minor premiership race. But it was funny because we had such an experienced team. When we were guaranteed the top four, I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks out from actually the last round because we went on that streak. We were guaranteed to finish in the top four. You could just, I wouldn't say sense putting the handbrake on a bit, but our older guys, our experienced guys were just treading water because they were waiting for the race to end because they knew the real race was about to begin. So the Luke Lewises, the Heiningtons, the Gallons, the Jimmy Maloney's, these sort of guys just sense that, I just need to get to September. I don't need to be banging myself up right now, risking anything because we're in good shape. We just need to get to September. And then once we're there, we knew the footy team that we had. And when we got there, mate, it was a good run. We had some adversity in the finals. Went down to Canberra with no Gow, and I got knocked out in the first 5 minutes. And Matty Pryor had one of his best games in his career, and almost single-handedly saved us down there in Canberra. And then we got the Cowboys in the prelim. A bit of revenge from the year before, and we started on fire, and really we controlled that game the whole way. And booked ourselves a spot in the grand final. And then that game against Melbourne, wow, they were good that night. They were so good. We were almost perfect in that first half. And then, they were good enough just to hang with us. And then ultimately in the second half, they found a way to get back in front, and they created a couple of opportunities. And, that was probably the only moment I thought, oh, hang on a minute, this is not the way it was meant to go. And then big Andrew Fafita found that, now iconic try. Yeah, and the mad scramble in the last minute. I was going to
say, how was the feeling knowing that, Cameron Smith, he normally goes for the hands, goes long, but I think it was, who made the tackle on Korobidi? Was it Mick?
Ricky Latelli, I think.
What were you thinking when that tackle was made on Slick?
I didn't actually see the tackle because it shifted left first.
Yep.
And then because it shifted, to our right first, their left.
Yep.
I went across field, and I actually made the tackle on Cam Smith when he passed it back to our side.
Oh.
So my first thought was, shit, we're short out there because I'm in here tackling Smith in the middle of the field. But I think Mickey Ennis had got in behind, and a couple of boys had got in behind, so I didn't actually see the last tackle. I just heard the hooter go, and Mickey Ennis put his hands up, and it was just like, I don't know, it's hard to describe the feeling. Like instant relief, like joy, just an unbelievable moment. And yeah, like I said, as soon as you said it, just then I couldn't help it. It just brought a smile straight to my face.
I guess so, fellas. And this might not even be an NRL grand final for blokes like me who, just have sat on the hill watching footy for 50 years, never any good at it, but love it. We could not even imagine what it must be like for blokes like, in your case, Wado, you and Lukey Lewis and Mick Ennis and Matty Pryor and Gal. When you see each other, you must instantly think of that moment together.
Yeah, it's a special bond. I saw on the weekend the Roosters 2003 team have their 10-year celebration, and they had the Hall of Fame. Actually, Fitzy got inducted into the Hall of Fame too, so it was a big weekend for all of us over in Perth. But I did see them have their 10-year reunion, and I was thinking to myself, I can't wait. Finally, hopefully that development in Cronulla will be finished by 2026.
It'll be done.
And we can get there and catch up with everyone. It's because it is a special bond.
Yeah.
It's hard. Footy is hard. Yeah, and you create a bond no matter what with your teammates. And even, your opposition, because they know they go through everything that you go through too. We talk about the roller coaster. You ride that together. But when you actually go through all that, and achieve something special with a group of guys, it creates a bond that, can never be replaced by anything else. So no matter where you go in life or the differences that happen, you create something special with a certain group of people, and that remains inside you and with you together forever.
I reckon the one that's more special for you is that's the first premiership Cronulla ever won. So, look at the Roosters. Yeah, it's a 10-year. They won the comp. But, mate, for you guys, you are always going to be known as the first team to ever win the competition for Cronulla. That's a massive achievement, Wader.
Yeah, and it's funny because after that competition win, obviously you're kings of the castle for a while. And I remember being, walking in Cronulla and around in that off-season and even in the pre-season, and the whole community, you could tell, was so proud. They were walking a little taller. Their shoulders were back, and
we've got it.
We got it. The hoodoo was gone, and I had more people in Cronulla actually say thank you than congratulations about it. Just thank you. I've been supporting the club since the beginning. We've been so close so many times. I'm just happy that I'm alive and saw it. Or the other story was my dad or my mum never got to saw it, and I'm just so glad they supported the club and I've supported the club, and we're just so glad we finally got one home. And I remember we always had the trophy cabinet joke about they send a photo of the trophy cabinet to be empty. And I remember when we got back to the Leeds club, we got the trophy and just put it smack bang in the empty of the in the middle of the empty cabinet, and finally goes, yes, we got one in there.
That's awesome.
They can't use that trophy cabinet joke no more.